A beautiful song which goes with today's theme, Fear is Not My Future. And that was the music that took us for that short break. We are back getting to see what's being reported in the dailies. My name is George Kishoro.
And my name is Beatrice Nudi. And it is time for us to have a look at what is being reported in the newspapers. And just to start us off, of course, it's the big news that was happening yesterday. A Ruto Raila government? Well, that's the question. Handshake. President William Ruto and ODM Chief Raila Odinga may be planning to form a government of national unity as the head of state seeks a way out of the current youth-led protests. Meanwhile, the Azimio coalition faces implosion. This is a story on pages 4, 5, and also 6. And just to get into that, of course, we had a lot of, social media ranting happening, and people now wondering, Raila, form gani? But I see here President's call for a broad-based political arrangement may be a precursor to the formation of a government of national unity. And I also see here more on the same that Dr. Ruto said to have dangled at least 3 cabinet slots to ODM among other key positions. And this is a story on page 4. But of course, the move has triggered a flurry of protests from some leading members of Azimio. And that is a story on page 5. And page 6 on the same, I see dialogue. Keep off, Gen Zs tell Raila. Youth accuse opposition chief of siding with oppressors. That is in quotes, warning that they won't allow political class to hijack their cause. And of course, the youth have rejected a move by the president, William Ruto, to co-opt political players in a planned multi-sectoral dialogue aimed at addressing issues raised by Gen Zs during the anti-government protests. Look at that story on page 6. And still on the top page covered, I see here groundwork laid for appointment of a new look IEBC. And maybe, Gigi, you can just take us through, we were having a discussion earlier on. What does this mean? What does it mean for the nation now that this bill has been signed? Now,
the good thing is that actually even the Standard has very much captured the question that you are asking as radical changes to IEBC expected to follow. So they were saying President Ruto's decision to assent to the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission Amendment Bill 2024 now paves the way for setting up of a new poll body. Now, a new election committee will have to be formed. The new law calls for an expanded team to pick the commissioners in 3 months after it is sworn to office. So once the committee is formed, it will need, within 3 months, they're supposed to give us an electoral body. And so it means that now, with the signing of this law, we will now have a committee now that will also be sworn into office, and then vacancies, because currently we don't have an IEBC. So vacancies will be declared in the various positions, chairman, vice chairman, and commissioners, and then thereafter, all those who will apply will be vetted by this committee. And then, of course, the names will be forwarded to Parliament for approval, and then President appoints them into office.
All right. And I see here that 9 is the number of members in the new look IEBC whose commissioners before the amendment are numbered 7. And I also see just on the same, maybe just to add on what happens next, the timelines on the constitution of the selected selection panel will, however, only kick off after the new bill has been gazetted and would and becomes a law, that is, which should happen within the next 7 days. So we are expecting that it should be gazetted within the next 7 days. And the various nominating bodies that will constitute their selection panel are now expected to forward names to the president through the Parliamentary Service Commission within 14 days. And upon receipt of the names, President Ruto will appoint the panel within 7 days. The panel will have 90 days to conclude the process of recruiting the chairperson and other members of the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission. And definitely we will be following up with this to keep you up to date with the same.
I'm seeing here that according to the IEBC Act, the vice chairperson will not become chairperson automatically in case of a vacancy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, just because there is a vacancy in the chairmanship position, it does not mean that automatically the vice chair becomes the chairperson.
Okay.
No. Then the IBC commissioners should have at least 10 years experience in their field of study. The other criteria, IBC selection panel be increased from 7 to 9 members. Only parties with more than 17 members in parliament may nominate a representative to the IBC selection panel. Now, who can hold the position of chairman of IBC as per the new act? The chairperson of the commission shall be a person who is qualified to hold the office of judge of the Supreme Court of Kenya, not any other court, but the Supreme Court of Kenya under the Constitution. For me, I'm looking forward to see the names who will throw their hats onto the field, because Beatrice, it's so sad, that IBC in a way has become a graveyard of professionals. We have had so many, you know, people of high caliber occupy those positions. But because of the misbehaving of, should I say, our politicians, they taint your reputation, they taint your image. And so many would-be commissioners or even chairpersons of the commissions, they shy away from occupying those positions, and they insist on, you know what, let me continue with my private practice. Instead of after an election, you know, aspersions will be cast, my name, my reputation will be, you know, will be ruined. And you know, after an election, if my name and reputation is ruined, that means my future is ruined.
That's true. It's a fear of the future.
The fear of the future.
It's a fear of the future, you know, coming into play in that scenario. And we can only sit back and pray. I feel like prayer is important in this time.
So that we have the right people.
The right people that God himself has approved. Because I believe in such, you know, authoritative positions. This is not something you play about. We cannot afford to have biased.
Jokers.
We cannot afford jokers. We cannot afford corrupt people. We just need the people that God has already chosen and already elected, pre-elected even before we do our own kind of electing. But look at that story on the same. It's well covered on the Standard and of course also on the Daily Nation. But I see here a very interesting story on the DN2 parenting. It says here, marriage landed me in trouble with my church. You know, I'm looking at this story. I see 3 women narrate the pain of being shut out from the warmth of church fellowship after their life choices failed to live up to the standards of a proper Christian marriage. Stigma and harsh criticism put to test their faith, but they lived to tell the story. This is a story on page 1 and 2 of the DN2 parenting. You can have a look, because I'm sure that many definitely relate to this very thing. And I see Hilda say, I didn't know how to tell my bishop that I was pregnant or face my church member. So there's a lot of stigma going on. And, you know, and in such situations, there's this one that was it Bire the vocalist that we once interviewed. We had his story play out on Testify, and I did the interview. I remember sitting in for Sharon, and you know, he was narrating how he got the fiancée pregnant before their wedding, and now he had to actually confess in front of the church. And you know, there was a lot of stigma from the youth leaders because he was in the worship team, and you know, they would make fun of him, and you know, they just didn't want to even accept the fact that he apologized, you know, in front of the church. He took some time to reform and even step down from the worship team so that, you know, God could just help him to, you know, to forgive him and to restore. And God did indeed restore him. And right now, his ministry is very much tied to helping people who have messed up. But then they need that love and to be embraced. So even when it happens in our churches, it doesn't mean we have to, you know, chase them away or speak badly to them. What we have to do is to embrace and actually lead them to reconciliation with their Creator, leading them to repentance so that God will restore and heal them. It is not shutting them off. It is not, talking ill about them, because if you have never sinned, be the first to cast the first stone. But look at that story on page 2 of the Parenting DN2. And let me quickly go to the back page. I see no projects to show for 1 trillion shillings expensive loans. Special audit was carried out on loans taken between July 2010 and December 2021. So the special audit established that 26 loans were contracted before the respective legal opinions of the AG were received. A story covered on the back page of the Daily Nation. Look at that. That is on the back page. And then moving on to page 31, a little bit of sports, little to separate England and Netherlands in today's semis. Dutch have edge in attack with tournament joint top scorer Gakpo, while the English defense has been pretty solid thus far. A story on page 31. And page 30, I see once in a lifetime, 3 lucky Kenyan fans to tour Paris thanks to NCBA. And more on page 30, just what makes this Kenya Sevens team tick. Squad is made of young players with an average age of 24 who are disciplined, hungry, and willing to learn. A story on page 30, and that is on the 2024 Paris Olympics. 16 days to go, where we shall be looking at that. So grab a copy of your favorite, but Gigi, maybe just take us through the standard.
Yes, and the standard, they are going with the headline, Gen Z backlash, no longer at ease. President William Ruto must have thought signing the IBC amendment bill at KICC and with the opposition present would placate the protesters. It angered them more. The youth feel those present are the face of what they are fighting, and even the children of the leaders scorned at them. The presence of military guarding the ceremony made matters even worse. It's a story you can read on page 5, and there is a photo there of the gentlemen as they exited KICC yesterday, and some quotes attributed to some of the youths who reacted on the social media spaces. Cornelius Rono, the dialogue is between 2 individuals, William Ruto and Raila Odinga. We refuse to be controlled by selfish politicians who only value their stomachs. Gen Zs and millennials are taking the bull by the horns. Duke Mtambo says political class regrouping to secure their selfish interests through an opposition handshake. But what we want to tell Raila Odinga is that those harmless youths did not die on the streets for senseless dialogues. Raila, who are we? You are not our leader. Then I see her here, GM at Hukijana. We thank Raila for everything he has done for this nation, but this is no longer his battle. Mzee atulie, ama pia yeye tumpe salamu mbili tatu hapa na pale. Raila Odinga Jr., everybody is an individual, please. Even people with the same exact names.
Well,
wow.
Okay.
So you can read that on page 5. And then I also see on page 2, Murkomen shows off on social media video show. Kenyans were yesterday stunned when Transport CS Kipchumba Murkomen revealed some of the expensive items he owns. A watch worth 900,000 shillings, a belt worth between 40,000 and 50,000, shoes valued at 70,000 to 80,000, and his ties cost him just something small, one at 20,000.
Okay.
Read that on page 2. All right. Missing JKUAT student drowned. Autopsy shows Omondi's body was discovered on July 6th in Mashinani Quarries in Juja. He was seen protesting at the National Assembly on June 25th. He disappeared on June 27th. We demand a credible investigation that is independent and thorough to reveal and prosecute whoever contributed to the death of Omondi. Advocate Apollo Mboya is quoted as saying. Right. I also see Road to 2027, President kicks off a rigorous task to pick IBC bosses. We have highlighted that. Pressure piles on Ruto to sack IG Koome over police brutality. The state has employed a tactic of denial of atrocities, thus shielding officers. Since his appointment in 2022, IG Koome has attracted criticism. You can read that story on page 9. I also see Obado's list of assets found in bedrooms. The properties were registered in his name, close relatives and aid. Anti-graft officers said the list of assets from the bulk of the 505 million corruption. Read that on page number 11. When we go to the pullout, that is the enterprise pullout, social entrepreneurship in today's business world. Read that on pages 4 and 5. I see Safaricom scrambles to show up Gen Z market in wake of protests. The telco 19 to 25 age demographic makes up an essential market for many local companies dealing in fast-moving goods. I also see HR managers to change tack in handling Gen Z at work. Gen Z wanashtua watu bana. In the counties, 40 Kericho MCAs approve motion to impeach County Secretary Bor. And the youth storm Nandi Governor's office to demand accountability. That was yesterday. Hundreds of youths storming Nandi Governor Stephen Sang's office demanding accountability for projects. Right, we go to the back page. Key battles as England face Dutch test in semis. 3 Lions will be seeking to reach their first ever major tournament final on foreign soil tonight. Remember, it kicks off at 10 p.m. England will be taking on Netherlands. The first semi-final was played last night. It was between Spain versus France.
How did it go?
Your team was eliminated.
Yeah. I still stand with them.
Yeah, so France lost 2-1 to Spain.
They tried.
Yeah, they tried.
Yeah, but, I'm proud of them.
Okay. Yeah, so they were eliminated. So Spain, they are into the finals, and they will be waiting to see who they face. Will it be the Dutch or will it be the English team? We wait and see. It's time to gather around and plot for success in Kitui Ties. This is all about the school games. Who will jump higher as battle for national tickets begins? You can read that on pages 29, 30, 31, and 32. Quickly, the Business Daily. Economic backlash widens over finance bill tensions. Moody's downgrades Kenya rating deeper into junk. Bond investors offer just 486.5 million shillings out of 20 billion which had been sought. DRC, now Kenya's fastest growing EAC export market. What else? No projects to show for 1 trillion shillings borrowings. The government cannot show projects funded with 1.13 trillion shillings of expensive loans it took in 11 and a half years to 2021. That's according to an audit.
All right.
Yeah, wow. So you can read that as well. Taifa Leo wanasema Kenya yashuka bei. Sijui kunani. Grab your favorite copy.
Yes, but actually before we close off on the news, yesterday we were hit by very, very bad and disheartening news. And Jubilee Christian Church, JCC founder Bishop Alan Kuna died at Nairobi Hospital. At a Nairobi hospital, not necessarily Nairobi Hospital, but at a Nairobi hospital while receiving treatment. And the 57-year-old reportedly passed on at around noon before his body was transferred to the Lee Funeral Home. And his wife, Reverend Kathy Kuna, in a very long post on Instagram, did mention that he has been battling cancer, and that is from last year when he was diagnosed. And, our deepest condolences go to the families, the wife, the children, and also the entire JCC fraternity.
Sincere condolences to everyone affected as well. We are taking a break to pave way for the video of the day this morning, and I'm trying to look at the song of the day this morning. It's by Lina M.
Yes.
Mbele Mbele.
The lady that came yesterday.
Our guest yesterday.
Yes, and it relates very well with our topic. But let's have a look at it and then we'll talk about it.